This is Travelcaster.
This is Travelcaster.
This is Travelcaster.
This is Travelcaster.
The travel pod that takes you there.
After travelling from the Netherlands down to the east of France and back up into Belgium, our Benelux journey is nearly over, but there's one final destination to go to. So join us on the journey. So here we are, an hour and a half from our starting point in Dinant this morning in the town of Leuven, just to the east of Brussels. It's a university city with a vibrant feel, and as soon as you arrive here at the station, you get the vibe of that going on. The station itself is an elegant mix of modern design and also ancient Belgian brickwork. And as soon as you walk out onto the main plaza here, a huge column greets you, and it's a memorial to what happened here in 1914 during the First World War, when Leuven was invaded by the Germans and they immediately executed 200 citizens. The memorial itself is a striking and poignant reminder of the history. And talking of history as well, and talking of languages, when we were on the train, the language changed subtly, very subtly, from French to Dutch, because we're back in the Flanders region where Dutch is the primary language, and the signs on the trains telling us which station we were going at to next changed from French to Dutch on that final leg. So here we are, city of Leuven. Let's see what it has to offer.
So Leuven's a lively little city, sitting right on the River Deal. It's been around since the 9th century, when it first popped up as a fortress against Viking raids, and later grew into a booming medieval cloth-making hub. By the 15th century, Leuven was already famous for its university, the oldest in the Low Countries, and it's still a buzzing student town today. So, whether you're into history, geography, or just good vibes, Leuven's got plenty of stories to tell.
Now, once you arrive at Leuven station, just cross the road and walk down the rather long shopping street until you see the spire of St. Peter's Church. And on rounding the corner, you'll come here to the Grote Markt. But unlike the one in Mechelen that we saw earlier in the trip, this one is absolutely teeming, not just with people, but with bicycles. They cover this stretch that has a slight slope on it with enormous speed. They won't stop for you. You've got to stop for them and get out of their way. Forget Belgium, it's more like a scene from the Tour de France. Now, looking around the Grote Markt, you do have St. Peter's Church, which is very pretty, and you do have the City Hall, but at the moment, it's all boarded up because of renovations that are taking place, and a sign tells me that it's not going to be reopened until 2029, so you'll have a long wait if you come here anytime soon. And around the corners of the Grote Markt, where there are historic cafes looking very nice, they're slightly spoiled by what are temporary wooden frontages. They're sort of huts that provide a indoor space to keep out of the cold. But I'm told that they're part of some kind of cultural exhibition celebrating the area's history. Not sure I'm buying that, because they don't have a very historic look to them. They have more of a feel of a tacky Christmas market, and they really do spoil the historic buildings that stand behind. A little bit disappointing. Now here's a fun fact. Leuven is known as the location of the world's longest bar. That is because of the concentration of cafes and restaurants around the Oude Markt, the old market, an enormous rectangular open space full of architecture, history, and of course beer. It's a lively old place of a weekend, but I recommend that you come one block away down here to Parisstraat, because here you'll find Den Delper. It's a really unassuming place from the outside, but it is authentic as it gets when it comes to the Belgian bar experience. Loads of great beers, of course, a good atmosphere, and I'm told that singing can go on here into the early hours of the morning, or indeed the very next morning. Now, I've decided it's a fairly lengthy walk from my accommodation to the heart of the old town here in Leuven, so I've invested in a 24-hour bus pass. You get these online on an app called De Lijn, and they cost €9 for 24 hours. All you have to do is sign up to the app, add a credit card, and buy the ticket accordingly. You can alternatively buy single tickets at €3 each. There are plenty of buses from Leuven station, right next to the train station, that go to all parts of the city and wider destinations as well. Down by the River Deel in Leuven, a history lesson is taking place for some primary school children, but it's a bit of a dark story because here is a monument to a character known as Proud Margaret. Born in 1207, she was a humble maid known for her virtue and strength. But one tragic night, she was pursued by robbers after witnessing a murder. Though she resisted bravely, they killed her and threw her body into the River Deel. But here's the miracle. Her body floated upstream, defying nature, and returned to Leuven. This act of divine defiance earned her sainthood and a place in local folklore. And her name is celebrated through a pub I went to last night. This is the Freya Margaret's, just around the corner from St. Peter's Cathedral and on one of the main bus routes into town. It's known as a brown bar, that is to say, a drinking hole that hasn't changed for centuries, that's kept its authentic look. And behind the bar is a very, very knowledgeable manager who will detect what type of beer you'd like to taste and then serve it up. And then when you've had one, he'll serve up another one that you'll probably like as well. And so it goes on until you've had enough. And he also tells a more grim version of the Freya Margaret story. I'll leave you to find that out for yourself. But Freya Margaret, go and visit it.
Travelcaster, travel tips.
These days, most restaurants, bars and attractions you visit will take card or phone payments. But it's wise to check if you're given a choice of which currency to pay in. If you have the choice, always pick the local currency. Generally speaking, you'll get a better exchange rate. It's also worth checking out credit cards that don't charge you an exchange fee on top of the bill. And it's still useful to carry a small amount of money with you, in case you come across a cash-only place or need to pay for an emergency CAD.
This tip was brought to you by Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there. For more tips and inspiration on how to plan your next trip, head to travelcaster.blog. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast.
It's Thursday morning in Leuven, and I could spend a bit of time exploring the old town in the city centre once again. But last night I was at a bar and I met this student who was with his mum all the way from Australia, and he said there is a site not far from the city centre that I must explore, and it's free of charge. So I've hopped on the number 2 bus and it's going to take me there. Come with me. You see, Leuven is home to Belgium's largest university. There are over 64,000 students here, and the number 2 bus has taken me through the suburbs of the city, along a fairly well-to-do housing estate, and out here to the university campus. And to my left are some fairly modern campus-type buildings that you'd expect at a seat of learning. They look a bit 1960s and a bit ugly. But it's to the right where the real gems are found, and it's just down this little pathway here. So I've got off the bus. I'm just walking through a wooded path surrounded by some rather lovely trees, gardens. The autumn leaves are out. It's looking very seasonal here. And I can hear in the distance some machinery. It sounds like there's some gardening and trimming going on somewhere. And at the end of this path, should be the site that I've come to see. And less than 15 minutes from when we got off the bus, we arrive here at our destination, Arenberg Castle. This is a joy of 15th century architecture that was home to the Dukes of Arenberg, a family from Germany who lived here for over 500 years. And all around me are formal gardens, beautiful lawn, some gorgeous topiary and hedgerows sculpted into elegant shapes. And the castle building itself has two very distinctive pear-shaped towers on top. And just to the left of what is now the main entrance, there is this Gothic spire with a rounded tower coming out of it. Very beautiful and very distinctive indeed. Now, the Dukes gave up the castle during the First World War and donated it to the Catholic University of Leuven, where it still stands today. And if you're here at the right time, you get the beautiful chimes of the clock. What I really like about this place is that although it is technically private land, it's part of the university campus, it's very much open to the public. You can just come here at any time of the day and stroll around. I'm sure they wouldn't mind if you brought a picnic. It's not really a tourist attraction though, that's the thing. Although visitors do come here, it is mentioned in guidebooks. Its primary purpose is a seat of learning. But the great thing is that you can just come here and it's entirely free. It's a wonderful way to spend a sunny morning just outside the main city of Leuven. And right next to the castle is another beautiful historic feature. This is the Arenberg watermill, and you can hear the River Diel churning its way around these two mechanical wheels. The watermill was first mentioned back in 1287. These aren't the original water wheels, of course. They've been restored and replaced over the centuries. But this mill was used for milling grain. There's also talk that at one point the water wheels were considered as a potential way of generating energy, but it was deemed unfeasible. And eventually, thanks to the generosity of the university, the wheels were restored to their former glory in 2020. It's a lovely sight on this crisp November day, with the sun glistening through the trees and the wheels turning rather noisily in the background. One of the great joys about independent travel is taking those tips from local people who say, go on, have a visit, go to this place. The trip out to Arenberg Castle takes about 20 to 25 minutes on the bus from the centre of Leuven, and you probably want to spend about an hour to 90 minutes here walking around. A little bit longer if you fancy a more leisurely stroll. Allow half a day to see it properly. You're listening to Travelcaster, today coming to you from the university city of Leuven in Belgium. To find out how to get here and what to do when you arrive, head to travelcaster.blog. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Now, as we mentioned earlier, at the moment the town hall in the Grootmarkt is closed for restoration work. And you can still see the facade. It looks rather beautiful in the sunshine today. But the noise around that restoration work that's taking place is a bit much. So step with me into something a little bit more tranquil as we round the corner and enter into St. Peter's Church. Let's have a look through here. Now, the information booklet tells me that St. Peter's is a fine example of a Brabantine Gothic church. Now, you don't really need to know too much about art to appreciate what that means. It towers above the city of Leuven. The building we're in now was constructed in the 15th century, and although it's suffered some damage over the years, it's been beautifully restored and open to the public for the last 5 years. Now, there is a very impressive single bell tower here. The original plans, though, would have 3 towers, one of which would have been the tallest in the world. But because of financial pressures and the soft soil on which we stand, only one tower was ever built. Now, there's all kinds of interesting features in this church, including a brewer's chapel, which seems appropriate for Leuven, and also a piece of artistic history, a triptych of the Last Supper, which was put together by the artist Dietrich Boots, who created it between 1464 and 1468. One of the most sacred pieces of art in the whole of Leuven. For me, it's always very pleasing when these buildings are open to the public and without charge. And here at St. Peter's Church, you can even come into the crypt, which features some of the original Romanesque elements of the church. Ancient indeed. And something more significant and more recent, because in 1964, a special altar was added here to honour the residents of Leuven who were sent to concentration camps during the Second World War. It's another poignant reminder of the past of this part of Europe and the significance of the sacrifice that people made here. Now, for my money, Leuven is certainly worth 48 hours of your time. There's plenty to do in terms of the sights, history, and of course the lovely Belgian beer. That's just about going to wrap up our Benelux adventure. On our latest journey, we've covered 2,000 kilometres, taken 22 trains, visited 13 different places in 5 different countries. Of course, you don't have to do all of that at once, but we hope that this season has given you some inspiration of how to explore the Low Countries. To find out how to get here and what to do when you arrive, head to travelcaster.blog, where you'll find all you need to know and plenty of inspiration for journeys elsewhere. This has been Travelcaster, the travel pod that takes you there.